Okay, so I just wanted to go over as quickly as I can, all the empirical evidence regarding gun control and its effect on violent crime. Now, let's address what gun control measures effectively reduce violent crime. The answer may surprise you. The CDC and the National Academy of Sciences both conducted extensive meta-studies. Now, meta-studies are where you review all the available scientific literature, all the criminology studies, all the peer-reviewed literature, and aggregate it, review it, and this is done by top experts in the field of both This is done by top experts both in the field of criminology and in statistics, so as to properly evaluate each and every scientific study and to properly aggregate the information into such that you can reach reliable conclusions. Neither the CDC nor the National Academy of Sciences could identify a single gun control measure that reduced violent crime of any sort, murder, suicides, or accidents. Okay? And you can look in the links below. I have linked to the CNN article summarizing this. I have linked to the National Academy of Sciences study. I have linked to the CDC study. There is no scientific evidence supporting the idea that gun control effectively reduces violent crime. This is simply because anytime you make firearms more difficult to obtain, you can simply obtain them on the black market. A war on firearms is no more effective than a war on drugs. Criminals don't need to go through background checks to obtain a firearm. Most of them are felons because, they've already committed crimes and are barred from legally purchasing firearms, and so they buy it on the black market. And so all that gun control effectively does is create a flourishing black market. The more severe the gun control legislation, the more profit you can make in the black market of selling illegal firearms, and thus you actually are financially supporting organized crime. And really, when you make it more difficult for law-abiding citizens to obtain firearms, the only people who are left with firearms are those who are willing to break the law and purchase firearms illegally. That leaves law-abiding citizens completely defenseless. And so in cities where you have tough gun control legislation, you see that gun violence actually goes up. Robberies increase, muggings increase, burglaries increase, rape, homicide. You do not have mass shootings like in places like Texas. You don't have mass shootings at NRA meetings. Over the past 40 years, 98% of all mass shootings have occurred in gun-free school zones. Why? Because criminals want to go somewhere where they know there won't be anyone who can defend themselves. And yes, we could ban all guns. And then, guess what? That still would not reduce violent crime. Britain has, in effect, pretty much banned private ownership of firearms. It's almost impossible to get a permit. And their violent crime per capita is far higher than ours. And shortly after the Sandy Hook massacre, a man in China stabbed, I believe, over 30, if not over 40 young children, and many of them died, and he did not need a gun to do that. So, banning firearms, all it does is disarm law-abiding citizens. And if you look at a country like Switzerland, which has a higher gun ownership rate than the United States, they have a lower crime rate. They have one of the lowest crime rates in the civilized world because you know what? You're not going to try to murder, rob, rape, or otherwise assault someone that can defend themselves. Criminals are not stupid. You're not going to try to rob someone's house or do a home invasion knowing that there's a very high probability that you will die. So I will also post a link below to a video regarding Switzerland and their gun policies, and to links regarding their violent crime rates in comparison to the rest of the civilized world. It is clear that higher gun ownership is in fact a deterrent to violent crime. So if anything, we should be encouraging more people to own firearms, to purchase them, and to get properly trained in their use, which is what the NRA does. They host training sessions. They host gun safety conferences. They teach people how to properly store their firearms, how to properly use it to avoid accidents, how to make sure it does not fall into the hands of make sure that firearms do not fall into the hands of children in the household. And the only effect of this attack on the NRA recently has been a dramatic increase in the number of people who are joining the NRA, which is actually a very good thing. Because if we want to see a reduction in violent crime in the United States, not that it hasn't actually been decreasing for the past 40 years. If you look at FBI statistics, violent crime per capita, or violent crime per person, as a percentage of the population, has been decreasing steadily for the past 40 years. But if you want to see it decrease even further, and also take note of the fact that gun ownership has increased steadily over the past 40 years, as violent crime has decreased over the past 40 years. Gun ownership over the past 40 years per person has gone up, and violent crime has gone down. So more guns equals less crime. Again, criminals do not want to attack people that can defend themselves. They want to attack people who are defenseless. And this should not be a left or right issue. It's, being liberal, supporting a government system that provides free healthcare and free education. It has nothing to do with gun policy. And this is the problem with ideologies, that you have all these disparate, that is completely and utterly unique and different. You have them all lumped in together as one ideological set. There is no connection between believing that we should have, free healthcare for everyone, and believing that we need gun control. And there's no connection between, wanting free healthcare and free college and foreign policy. Though I am a fan of traditional liberal foreign policy, but as of late, neoliberals like Obama and Hillary Clinton have become fans of attacking countries on humanitarian grounds, which has only resulted in those countries being handed over to ISIS and Al-Qaeda. I mean, Obama's foreign policy was absolutely no different than Bush's. In fact, I'll make another video about that, but regardless, just because you're liberal doesn't mean you have to support gun control.